And I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is smoke coming out of this headlight switch. I didn't even turn it on, but once I turn it on, I don't know why it's making that little buzzing noise, but you can see smoke coming out of it. So I'm going to replace that because that's scaring me. I don't want this car to burn to the ground more than it probably would have already. But it's funny because sometimes when I jiggle the switch, the headlights will dim. See if I can get it to do it. Anyway, but when I do that, I can hear some of the contacts in the headlight switch kind of buzz. So I'm going to replace that. I'm sure I have a replacement somewhere. Well, that's something I don't see every day. Blue and red instrument panel lights. Awesome. I got the switch out and it's hot to the touch. Like, I can't touch this black plastic part toward the bottom. It's just super, super hot. I mean, it is corroded a little bit. I'm kind of tempted to take it apart and see what's wrong with it on the inside, but I'm going to see if I have a good replacement that will go with it. Hopefully then Branden won't have to buy a new one, but we'll see what he wants to do. Yeah, can't even touch that. Super hot. So the pigtail doesn't look broken or damaged or anything like that. There's no splices into it, at least at this point. So I'm hoping that is actually just the switch getting hot. We'll see. If I put in another one, it does the same thing, then I'll have to look elsewhere. Looks like Branden lucked out this time. I have a new headlight switch that I got in a parts car that's identical to his old one. And so I'm going to put that in and turn the lights on and see if they still flicker and see if the headlight switch gets hot. I mean, warm is one thing, but hot is something else. I mean, I'm looking at this and I think there's some corrosion inside of it just based off of that right there. So we'll put the new one in. So we got some crazy stuff going on. So most of these wires I've pulled out from going through the dash into the engine compartment, but this is just on the tip of the iceberg. This is 1, 2, 3, and then a fourth that already fell out, switches that was put on this. What these do, I have no idea. I mean, one maybe is a kill switch, one maybe is, it says for the antenna for the CB radio. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. And then there is speakers everywhere on the car, which is bizarre. But then there's stuff like this, which I'm just in the dark about. So there's this, you know, with numbers and something like that. Maybe it's a fan display. I have no idea. Then there's this, and then there's just wire everywhere. So as much as it sucks, what I'm going to recommend to do is at least take the dash pads out and look at the wiring, because it's really just right here where most of the wiring is, and I can access the rest of it once I take this pad out and I can take this center gauge out. We'll see what the customer wants to do, but wiring like this scares the crap out of me. Somebody's been all over this car and it's been a disaster under the hood, so I can imagine what another dash looks like. This might seem a little extreme, but there's a method to my madness, and this is one of the examples. Really? That's how you install a light bulb? It's not even the right size light bulb. I pulled that dash out in order to check this harness because I'm just scared of what Bubba has done to it. Luckily, so far, I don't see that many things that are problems, except for stuff like, you know, here's a wire that's just kind of, you know, hanging out. Who knows what that even went to? It doesn't look like a stock wire to me. It looks more like a speaker wire. And then there's these really goofy LED bulbs in all the light bulb sockets, which I don't like. I just don't feel like they burn the same. So far, so good. Here on the other side, where the tack goes. Yeah, most of the, I mean, there's this goopy stuff. I don't know what to put on it, but most of the wires, at least on this side, look good. The main reason why I pulled it, I mean, for example, this purple wire right here, it's just kind of hanging. And there's this wire right here, that's also just hanging. It's a double black wire. One of the main reasons I wanted to pull that dash out was to check the fuse box and everything underneath there and trace some of those wires around. So far this main harness doesn't look too bad. So far hopefully we'll be able to keep that and not have to replace the whole dash harness. We'll see. But I mean, like for example, there's this yellow wire right here that just ends in nothing. It ends in this goo. That's it. That's what it does. Why does that exist? Why is that there? That kind of thing drives me nuts. So next I'm going to pull out these two panels just because they're easy to get to, and then we'll go from there. Here's another example of crazy Bubba stuff. So this duct, I mean, it's an aftermarket system. It's not too bad. That's not what I have an issue with. I have an issue with this. So I'm sure this is some kind of light sensor or something for something fancy. What I have an issue with is this. I'm sure this is some kind of light sensor. No, it's just a stupid LED. So it goes from this, that's how they installed it, to this gray wire which runs along the back, and then they have the gray wire with the black wire and then two other wires just attaching to it that who knows where they go and what they do. But it's just a mess back here. You know, they got a bunch of extra stuff, and oh, I'm gonna have to take this off in order to show you guys the full view. I can always zip tie this back on, but let me do that real quick. All right, here in the back we got some more amazingness. So first of all, looks like what could be a new circuit board, which is good, but the problem is we got a jumper wire from the clock that goes to this weird LED thing. I don't know what that's all about. And then the ground's here along with all this other stuff. And why is there an LED here that, you know, that's supposed to be just a light for the gauges? Why didn't they put that in correctly? And then it looks like this has been wrapped in electrical tape, which kind of worries me because there's goo inside of it, which kind of makes me think they messed around with something inside of here. It looks like there's maybe a wire that they've looped out, but it looks like they used chewing gum, I swear. This main harness looks okay, but it's stuff like this that scares me. There's this huge orange wire, and I don't know what that goes to, if it's vintage air or not. And then, you know, there's stuff like this. I don't know what that all goes to. So yeah, this might be an interesting an interesting project, to say the least. Here on the right side of the dash, you can see this ridiculousness that is this AC installation, I think. So got all these green wires. I don't think this is, maybe this is the AC control, but then what's the point of a control over here if you have this? So I don't know how that works, what that does, but honestly, I think I'm just gonna leave. See, like this, really? That's for the interior lights. I think I'm just gonna leave the AC system controls alone and work on stuff that I know is Corvette. So like this is your turn signal flasher, this is your interior light with, I mean, look at this, really? That's how you install this? Anyway, so yeah, I think these green wires go to the air conditioning, but weirdly enough they go to that switch that's underneath. It's right there. That switch right there. Anyway, that sucked, you can't see that, but what do they run? What do they do? Why, you know what I mean? Like, it says for antenna, and why would this run an antenna? I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not here to fix air conditioning. That's the very last thing that we're even going to think about. Definitely here to fix other things. We have the wiring in the car basically sorted out. So the only real addition we have before we start it up is we need to get this electric fan to work. As you can see, it's just a cluster of ridiculousness that no longer needs to apply. So what we're going to do is we're going to test out this fan. So I've determined, based on the wiring that was plugged into here, that one side's ground and one side is power. and we can actually get it to work. So, I mean, it does pull pretty well. I think it'll work for what he needs it to do. The only question I have is there's two power terminals. There's one, you see this has 3. And I'm going to use the one that they were using, which is going to be the inside one, I believe, and not the outside. But if I move the probe over to here and do the same thing, it works just as well. That one might be a little better. I might use the outside one. I can't really tell which one's the better of the two. But, you know, the fan works and it sort of fits, so it should work. It's not my first choice, but it's cheaper to buy a control kit for this than to buy a whole other set of fans. Today we're going to install something pretty simple, which is this fan controller. I'm going to mount it right here because it's already got holes and it's a good place. I'm going to put the temperature bung right here, or maybe right here. The EGR is supposed to be hooked up to that. It looks like it's hooked up to something else. It's this right here. It's supposed to run to this. But as of right now, it's not hooked up to anything. So, with that being said, that's something that Brandon's going to have to do, check out later, see if it works or not. But, yeah, I'm going to hook up the temperature bung and then install the fan, wire it up, and then we'll see if it works. And then from there, we'll start the car. I found this little block off that was in the thermostat housing. This is one place that you could put that sensor, and it's the same size as the bung that needs to go in there, so we're going to put it there and we won't worry about all the rest of the stuff. The other thing though is there's no water in there, and then I opened the radiator cap and there's no water in there. So obviously it needs some coolant, so I went and bought some new coolant for this motor. I'm going to put it in, and then we have to look for leaks. Why is the radiator not all the way full? So we'll do that right now and see what we find, and then if there's no leaks we can put the bung in and we can go from there. The reason being is you don't want to start a motor with no water in it, obviously, for obvious reasons. And just like that, the install is all done. So let me kind of show you the way this works. So here's the wiring diagram. Basically the fan gets positive 12 volts all the time, and what happens is whenever the temp sender right here gets to a certain temperature, it trips this relay, which then pretty much completes the circuit to the fan, giving it a ground, and that turns it on. So we have this red wire that runs down here to one side of the fan, and then from the other side of the fan we have that other red wire, which then runs to the battery cable on the starter. The other wires, we have a ground, which I have put to the frame down here. And then we have a yellow wire, which is 12 volt positive on the fuse box, and the green wire, which is for a controller, which we're not putting in. Basically it's a switch that will turn the fan on anytime you want it to. So just like that, it's ready to go, and now all we have to do is fill up the motor full of water, spin it over a little bit, and then see if it will start. It's running. Hasn't run in a long time. That power steering fully looks off. See that? I don't like that. That's weird. It looks like it's bent or not mounted right, but that's something that can be addressed. Inside. Oil pressure is good, fuel gauge is good, volts is good, tach works. That's good. Temperature, I'm sure, does. It actually runs pretty decent so far. Let's see what it does when it's revved up. I don't see any smoke. That's not good. I've never seen a power steering system puke that bad. So the pump is new, and I had it filled up and it stopped whining, and then all of a sudden it started, and the reason being because it all just puked out all over my floor. And it looks like it came from this valve right here, which isn't at all surprising. I mean, anyway, we'll have to clean that up and see if Brandon wants to go that long. I mean, I can unplug the power steering and he can drive it around as it is, which is probably what I'll do in order to test everything else on the car. So that's going to be fun. After getting the power steering mess cleaned up, I noticed this. So this is a legit transmission leak. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but judged on that, I moved the car back, but judged on the spot that's on the floor down there, we're going to have to deal with that before we can test drive it, because that's way too much to leak out just from running it a couple times. Let's see what we got. Alright. Looks like to me it's going to be a dipstick tube issue.